Oh, you like that, don't you, said Gokart? The fuel tank for the cubman. Now, I didn't want to set all this up before and fill it with petrol because I still need to do a little bit of welding on it. What I'm talking about is this piece needs to be welded in there so that this thing can go in it. So I made this. You've all seen me drill holes before, so I didn't bother filming it. I've put this into the chassis and I'll put some marks where the top rail is. So that's just got to offset there a bit. Just going to cut the top section out and then weld that in flush with the top. And that should work. So, I'm going to have to be careful around these corners because I don't want to melt these holes that have threads cut into them. But, should be fairly easy to avoid. What I'm going to do is just tack the four corners first to make sure that it stays where it's meant to, and then weld it. There we have it. I'll weld it in. I might need to just linish these back a little bit just to make sure that there's enough room for the flange to bolt down to, but it should be fine. Alright. Once that cools down I can assemble it, and then this is ready to be fitted, along with lots of other parts. So next up, fuel lines. Now, they run underneath the tank, between the tank and the floor, so what I'm thinking is I'm going to put a layer of heat shrink over these so that it's not metal rubbing on aluminium, because that would be bad if it sprung a leak. So heat shrink. Now this has never had fuel through it, so that's why I'm quite happy to use a lighter on it. Beautiful. Just what I was after. Alright, I gotta find another piece of heat shrink for the other pipe, and then they'll be done too. Alright, this whole assembly is ready to go in. It is going to have hose clamps on it, because that would be silly not to, but yeah. Now, the engine cradle. It needs an extra bracket for this, the ignition coil. Now, the end keeps falling off. Gotta see if I can find a solution for that. It's a copper core, so I might just put a bolt-on fitting on the end of it, because the spark plug has a thread on it. It's probably going to be the best option, I think. So anyway, this can go somewhere. I think that's where it's going to go. So, I'm going to take the cradle off the engine, make a bracket for that to fit on there, and then this can get sanded back and primed, because everything's getting painted. I need that. I do not need this. Be gone. Alright, now that's cleared up. Just there somewhere like that. Bracket time. So, I'm going to do is make a bracket out of this piece of RHS. Now, RHS is a funny one where if you just weld that onto something, well, it looks really, but if you just bevel the edges, cut it off, it makes a flat bracket with some inbuilt gussets. It's got nice radius edges and doesn't take much, and it looks quite professional. So I'm just going to get this piece that's already had a bevel cut on it. I'm just going to cut straight through there, take the end piece off. That will be wide enough for my bracket to go on. Yep. So then it'll just need some holes, and then that piece can be welded into there. So, quick bracket time. Where this stud's welded on, it's got a bit of a flange there, so beautiful. Alright, that's it. Just got to cut off across this line and then trim the side panels so they're gussets to match the thickness of the actual bracket. So, next bit. That's basically just going to go there right in the center, put a couple of welds on, and then just grind everything to suit. Just tack it on first, make sure I'm happy with the location. It looks pretty good. Check it on the engine. Clears everything it needs to, so I'll do a little bit more welding. Doesn't require much. welded. Now just going to get the cutter, cut these corners off, and then just linish everything back into shape. So now this frame is ready to sand back and paint, but you've seen enough painting, so let's build something else. To do part 2. Alright, so shifter mod is next. So the gear shifter inside the chassis, it needs to be kicked out further. So what I'm thinking is I'm put a cut through here and a cut through there and put a dog leg in it just to bring it out a little bit further because it rubs on my knee. So I'm just going to put a cut halfway through and a cut halfway through there, bend them both to about 45 degrees I think, and then get the TIG with some stainless filler wire and then just fill in the cuts. Now I'm cutting it and bending it so the cuts actually open up, so I've got a nice V to put the filler in. If you do it the other way and cut and then close the cut, it just doesn't melt in as well. So cut time. Technically when cutting stainless you shouldn't use any cutters or grindings that have ever been used on mild steel, because the particles will embed into the stainless and it's not great. But considering this is just a go-kart shifter, I'm going to risk it. Alright, that's good enough for the first one. I'll weld him back up and then I'll adjust this second bend to where I want it. That looks pretty good. Hopefully I can still get the cover over that. This bit in the middle needs to be painted because that was just a piece of mild steel, because that's all I could get in the right size. A little splash of paint on that and that's right to go on as well then. Basically that's what the fuel line retainer bracket is going to look like, except for it needs to be thinner and a little bit of a bend in it. So template. Piece of aluminium should do it. So perfect length. I really need a Makita. I I really need a Makita. Death wheel, don't use them, watch the video. Now that needs a couple of little folds in it. Just got to work out which direction. Alright, so that's which direction it needs. So it's going to have a little kick in one direction, 2 kicks the other, and then back to the first side for another kick. Make sense? That's so that this will actually tuck up a little bit closer underneath. As with everything else in this project, there's only millimeters of clearance between where the fuel line runs and the floor pan. So ready? Cool. That should work just nicely. So that can now go into the cardboard box of parts. I've got several cardboard boxes on the floor there with all the parts and pieces, so when the chassis is all painted, cardboard boxes will be getting emptied. Exciting. Well, don't need that anymore. So we have fuel line retainer bracket, chain guide, meh. Run some extra wires. You need to buy a screwdriver, chain guide, seat mounts. Alright, so next, I need to do seat mounts, but I don't have a seat, so I suppose I better have a go at making one of those. Time to clear the table. Well, that worked. Now, anyway, that's it for this video. As always, customize everything.